So, and nobody has any budget questions? Okay, so I'll talk about it anyway. So, we're going to continue to put messages out every 2 to 3 weeks on the budget. So, it's very up in the air. You know, I remember 2 years ago, the presidents all got the word, be prepared for a 20% cut. So I called everybody into the gym, said the word is 20% cut. And so I just said, you know, we don't know where that's going to go. And it ended up not being there, you know, but they did a tuition increase and it wasn't 20% cut. And it ended up being a lot less than they originally put out. And so this year, this summer, for example, the governor came down here and had a budget hearing here in Geyser Hall. And when she came down, I got to meet with her for dinner just prior to her open session with the public. And she was telling us, it looks bad. The federal money, aid money that we were going to get that was supposed to be passed, doesn't look like it's going to get passed. And it looks like we're going to have to do a 4 to 6% across the board cut. Woe be everybody. Sorry we got to do this, but that's what's going to happen. A week later, after the budget hearing, all of a sudden at the federal level, this bill gets passed and the federal aid is coming. And so we're okay. We're not going to have to take this across the board cut. So good, great. A week later, the revenue forecast comes out from the state. Revenues are down hundreds of millions of dollars. Woe be us. And then the governor sends out this edict, 6% across the board cut, a little over 6% across the board cut. Okay. So we've, in the last message I sent out to you, the governor has mandated across the board 6.7% cut. That translates to about $1.8 million at Clark College. Okay. So the funny thing about that is, but the governor cannot take money from us. The legislature is the only one that can take money from us. So even though she's mandated this, we have to prepare our budget, get ready to take that. There won't be anything enacted until the legislature meets, and they don't meet until January unless they do a special session. There's no indication that they're going to do a special session. So January they meet, and you know how that works. It takes them months to agree to something. So we may not know exactly what our cut is. And oh, by the way, there's another little quirk out there. So it gets complicated. Because the state received ARRA money, that stimulus money, the last year and a half. Upon receiving that, one of the conditions was that we do not fund education below the 2006 education funded level at the state. So the 6.7% cut that the governor's mandated takes us below that maintenance of effort, they call it, level. So we cannot go below there. Otherwise, the state has to give back all the stimulus, millions of dollars of stimulus money that they received. So the number that they can actually cut Clark College or in the state community college system is about 3-something%, which translates to just over $1 million. So I think that's what we're going to probably get cut, is somewhere in there. So it's a little bit confusing. And then the legislators can do some other quirky things. Who knows what they're going to do? So we're just alerting everybody. The cabinet's going through a process to sort of, you know, core functions and just sort of level out the core functions and work its way out in preparation. In the meantime, what we've got to ask each and every one of you to do is to cut every expense. And you know, I would like to send folks to get their professional development, because I think that's important. I want folks to continue to grow, improve, and hopefully move up in their workplace. But for the next year or two, we're probably not going to be able to do that very much. And so the more that we can save right now, the more I can protect each and every one of you in the next year or two. I can't promise you that we'll be able to protect everybody. I just don't know where this is all going to end. But I'm going to promise you that we're going to keep you as informed as possible. About every 2 or 3 weeks, we'll let you know sort of the latest we got. But I'm not going to scare you. And, you know, we do need to tighten our budgets. We do need to save as much as we can. So the next couple of years, we just have to really tighten our belts. And everybody's got to chip in a little extra to make it through these next couple of years. And so far, you've done a fabulous job at that. What's happened is a lot of colleges have jumped the gun. Some have capped enrollment. And so, and that may be an option down the road. I mean, we're probably at our peak, but there are several colleges that have capped enrollment. They've got 1,600 student waiting list, 1,200 student waiting list. I don't want to do that. We're in open access. We're a community college. We're here. Those students need us. So if we can avoid that, I want to do that if we can. I mean, I just really want to continue to do that. Also, though, at the same time, I've got to be concerned about your health and welfare. I got to make sure that you're not overly stressed where we're going to have folks that are just going to have some health problems because of the additional workload. So I've asked each and one of the executive cabinet members to watch that closely, do what you can to sort of relieve some of the stress around the office place so that we get through this tough period. But it's going to be tough the next 2 or 3 years, there's no doubt about it. But if we can do it without having to cut our people, it will be better that way. Yes, go ahead.
Does that virtually imply a higher soft freeze at this point?
Well, the governor has already got a hiring freeze in place with some exemptions. So we've already got basically a hiring freeze, but we're out, even the ones that are exempted, we're still going to take a look. Executive count, I'm not saying, so I guess you could call it a soft freeze, above and beyond what the governor's got. So we're taking a look at each and every one. And even positions, when we lose somebody, even though we've got money in the budget right now, it hasn't been cut from us to rehire that person, can we get by? Can we save that money for 2 or 3 years or whatever it's going to take? And can we restructure the organization where we save some of those dollars to get us by in the next 2 or 3 years? So we're just taking a look at that. And we're not saying absolutely no replacements. We're not absolutely saying there's an absolute freeze, but we're taking a deliberate look at each and every one of the positions, regardless of where they are, and just saying, can we get by without it? So you could call that a soft freeze, Ed. I think that might be a term. A soft freeze above and beyond what we have to by the governor's edict there. So anyway, that's sort of where we are in the budget thing. So just everybody just helping that. I've had to turn down a few travel requests, which I prefer not to do that. And it's just about every area across campus. But, and I'd like to send those. So hopefully in a year or two, we'll be able to do some of those things. Some travel is mandatory because, for example, in financial aid, the financial aid regulation changes. And they have one federal level financial aid training a year, and we've got to send at least someone from our college to be up to speed on that financial aid training. So there are exceptions on the travel, but they're few and far between. Oh, Phil?
When does the maintenance of effort expire?
Good question. The maintenance, this is the little scary part. The maintenance of effort expires June 30th of 2011. So after 2011, June 30th, it's wide open. The cuts are wide open. We will not have to pay back money if they cut us below the 2006. So that's a little bit worrisome. So they could make up, they wanted to cut us 6% this year. They can't because of the maintenance of effort this year. They could make up the difference, try to make up the difference in higher ed next year, the next biennium. So we don't know though. But I know that there's discussion about a tuition increase. So I think there's going to probably be another tuition increase. Presidents aren't happy about that. Again, more of the burden of the education is going to go on the student. We'll probably lose some students that can't afford to do that, but pay for tuition. But I would be very surprised if another tuition hike wasn't enacted for the next biennium. That will help offset some of the cuts that we will end up getting for next biennium. So the next biennium is going to be just as difficult or more difficult than this past biennium because the revenues just continue and the forecasts continue to look really dim right now. Now things could change. This economy could get turned around or start to turn around a little more so, and the revenue picture changes. But right now, from what everybody's looking at, we're going to be in for another 2 or 3 year tough period economically.